Can you call Singapore your home?
Oh,
Be honest.
Meet Irina. She's been a Singapore's guide for 10 years. As we walk through the hidden gems of Singapore's Chinatown, she shares stories about the brutal Japanese occupation, Singapore's rich brothel history, and the unique mass wedding tradition. I'm Max, entrepreneur and YouTuber from Singapore. Let's go!
Do you think you changed through these 14 years? You become more like Asian or become more Singaporean?
definitely I get a new habit. I have a very heavy breakfast. It's Asian style. Can you imagine in Italy people just take maybe coffee and a small croissant. But for us it's normal to take a heavy breakfast and don't think about food during the day. I think it's Asian culture, right?
Is it like proper breakfast?
We have a kaya with butter. Kaya make from coconut milk, butter and from egg. And this like an egg jam. It's mix of cuisine. Actually, egg jam came from Dutch cuisine. We know for Dutch very popular tart with egg. A bit of white pepper, a bit of vinegar. Enjoy your breakfast. In beginning of 20th century, when British left Singapore because it was economical bad time, and all of these hawker or people who serve British in kitchen, they lost job and they're looking for opportunity to sell same product, same breakfast culture in Singapore street. We are now in Yakun Kaya Toast. It's historical business, and guy who established this business was very young boy. He was maybe 15 years old.
In the beginning, like when I first tried it, the taste was quite strange, I would say. But then I kind of get used to it, and now I just love it. You became PR and then you bought your own place. In Singapore, to buy a place, it's expensive, no? Right?
Yes, it's expensive, but it's very smart program. You can get your apartment and you pay just 20% first. And after that you pay mortgage, and mortgage quite low actually. Sometimes it's during the COVID time it was even less than 1% interest. So I think it's quite reasonable now it's more, now it's changed, of course. But anyway, it's much better compared than rent. Now in Tinganu Street, but the name of this street changed. It used to be Japanese Street because these buildings used to be brothels for girls who came from Japan and from China. But actually most of these girls were from Japan. They even not came by their own decision. They was brought by businessmen who decided to do this kind of business. So they sell these girls, they used to work here. This girl called Karaoke-san. Karaoke-san means person who leave country and work abroad. And even their parents not aware about what they're doing. Because when these businessmen came to, for example, Japanese village, they explained their parents, your girl would work in port area as a cleaner and etc. And when these girls came to Singapore, they become sex slaves. Yeah, it's a very sad story, but yeah. Let's go.
Hi. Can I? Thank you. It's for YouTube. Do you know it was a brothel before here? 19th century. Yeah, 100 years ago. So what is this street famous for?
It's a street famous for brothels also, but
upscale ones.
Yeah, upscales, definitely. And originally, location of these brothels was very easy to explain because next street is Bukit Baso. Was place where businessmen met and discussed some business opportunity. So Bukit Paso, it's a place for association and business clubs. Yeah. So, and businessmen, after their meeting, they didn't rush home. They visited their misters on this street.
I want to find more interesting people for you to interview them. If you want to support my work, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much. Was it easy for you to get along with locals? Because sometimes I hear that from both sides, actually, from like foreigners in Singapore or from locals, that like locals sometimes don't understand like foreigners.
I believe that local people are very supportive, and when they see that you are interested in their history of their family or history of their country and culture, they very open and love to share some interesting information. Maybe tradition very weird for us, like a matchmaking marriage. But
it's not for all the cultures, it's like Indian background.
Yeah, mostly for Indian, but some Chinese also.
Some Chinese also?
Yeah,
Oh,
really.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Some Chinese also, especially for rich families.
Rich families, yeah.
But you know that in Russia, before Russian Revolution, we also had this kind of tradition, but it was destroyed during the revolution time. And for example, my grandmother, she also had a matchmaking marriage. It was, I think, beginning of 20th century, but it's normal for those days. So, but interesting that Singapore still have this tradition today. This funny story about mass wedding.
Mass wedding?
Yeah.
What is mass wedding?
Maybe better to avoid this. Because, you know, it's during the first years of independence, government wants to create new nations, smart and intelligent with high educated level. And they try to make some matchmaking marriage. For example, it's not like you should marry this lady because you have the same education level and etc. No, it's like if you working in government company, government authorities, for example, single people can be sent to any cruise or any trip. Who knows? Maybe something happened between them during this business trip. So and some experience were successful, and you see mass wedding here. It's Maxfield Food Center, one of the famous hawker center in Singapore. Some stores here, some businesses belongs generation after generation. My favorite place here is the Tian Tian chicken rice. And why it's Tian Tian? Tian Tian from Chinese translated as small. Historical business, and in the early days it's sell in banana leaf. Just put some rice, a piece of chicken meat and cover to banana leaf.
We've chosen our place, this one, and they Michelin recommended.
One popper and one rojak, small.
It's a pineapple?
Pineapple.
Okay. Cucumber?
Peanuts, some gravy, tofu, I think. Actually, it's Indonesian salad, but it's quite popular in Singapore because it's also even like some sort of symbol. It's a different ingredient, exactly like a Singapore society. Chinese, Indian, Malay, and other ethnic groups. So it's represented with this rojak. It's a different veggie with eggs. Of course, sometimes we can try fancy popper with seafood, but of course, I think original recipe is like this.
What do you normally eat? Like during the week? You cook at home as well? Or you mainly go to hawkers?
Yeah, I cook at home. It's my passion. So I'm in Singapore already 14 years, but I'm not able to cook this. I don't know how to cook because it's more cheaper go outside and buy it.
Oh, exactly. It doesn't make sense to cook if you can buy it for like $3.
Yeah, sometimes I think just, I should learn how to cook this because if I leave Singapore, I will lose this opportunity. Rickshaw was introduced by Japanese. In Singapore, there used to be a Japanese community who came to Singapore in the 19th century.
Are there actually any Japanese still living in Singapore from that time?
Most of Japanese were departed from Singapore after Second World War. It was occupation from 1942 till 1945.
Till the end of the war.
Yeah, till the end of the war. And of course it was very tough time. And all Japanese community, even who came to Singapore in 19th century, were sent back to Japan after war. But anyway, Singapore built economy very fast, attract different investors, and already in 1970s, Singapore government invited Japanese company to establish here some factories.
I talked to some Singaporean guy, and he was like, okay, I asked him, what does it mean to be a Singaporean? Like, what's the identity of Singaporean? He said, what we share, all of us share, is Singlish. But apart of Singlish, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to find the true identity of Singaporean. What is for you? Who do you think they can be called like Singaporean? What's the identity of Singaporeans?
Singapore, it's a country built by immigrants. So interesting that people brought their culture and they save it for whole generation. Right? It's immigrants, but it's not like a melting pot in US, right? People already forgot from which countries they came.
They came from like Netherlands.
Yeah.
But they lost Dutch identity.
Singapore was interesting. They keep it. It's interesting. I love to talk with Singaporeans because it's very rich history of. Sometimes it's very rich history of family. For example, some grandfather came from China, some grandfather came from Indonesia, and they mix different culture in one family. And most of them able to speak a different Chinese dialect. It's really surprised me. If you ask Singaporean which language you speak, they always say, oh, just English and, for example, Mandarin. Oh no, with my grandma I speak in Cantonese, but my, for example, father's side grandma I speak in Teochew language. But they never mention about this. It's like a normal for them. No, it's like a karaoke.
Can I? Karaoke.
But for
Oh, do you sing?
it's karaoke for people who love to Chinese opera.
Can you call Singapore your home?
Oh,
Be honest.
I'm very happy here, and I think it can be my second home. But my home were my parents. I think it's very important to keep your roots and support your connection with your family. So Singapore is my second lovely home. Let's compare Singapore size with other cities. For example, you can choose.
Let's say compared to Paris.
Wow! So Singapore and Paris.
Oh wow. What?
We can put
Paris-
all 17 Singapore in
No,
Paris.
is it population? Oh no,
And
it's
this is
land-wise. When the people come to visit us Singapore, we always go to Pinnacle, to the
Yes.
rooftop. Yeah, Sky Garden. Actually, it's there. Yeah, the Sky Garden on the top. You pay just $6 at the lift. You pay to the guy on the ground floor, but you use your EasyLink card, so you need to have EasyLink card. And then he just let you go to the lift. You go to the, I don't know, floor 50, I think. It's amazing view over there, and it's unrestricted view, and it's gorgeous. You should go. You know Singapore very well. What are the overrated places that maybe you can skip, and what are the unique hidden gems that you don't find as much info about them in travel guidebooks?
I like our design of Marina One. Marina One is a residential and office use building. It's amazing design there.
Is there anything to see there, or just the building outside?
I love architecture.
For me, I just recalled another place. It's Hapar Villa. It's a weird place. It's worth to go, but it looks like a bit strange.
Yeah, you're right, but it's also important for culture.
What's the story behind it? I don't know.
It was really villa for two Chinese guys, two Chinese brothers. So if you know Tiger Balm, it was people who create this medicine, and they came to Singapore, I think from Burma, and they understood that local people forgot their culture, and they built this, you're right, very weird statues from Chinese mythology. I think it's also symbol how local people support their culture. This street, you see how many souvenir shops here, and for example, I like this cafe. It's quite good coffee, European coffee. And this street, Saga Street, it's also called Street of Death.
Street of Death. Oh wow.
Because it used to be hospice. So, and first you remember that it's shop house. Second and third floor used to be hospices. And first floor used to be a shop for some funeral stuff.
Oh wow. That's cruel. How's your perspective changed about Singapore when you first came 14 years ago up to now?
I remember when I just came and I went to local market and to local supermarket. So it was product which I even can imagine how to cook. It's some kind of fish which I never saw before. But now same supermarket become more global, I can say. It's sell wine with French cheese. So of course it's okay, it's good, yeah, but it's not so unique like it was when I just came.
Yeah, that's true. We spent here almost half a year in 2014, and it was more difficult to find nice cheese, like French cheese in Singapore.
Yeah.
Now it's whatever you want, you can find anything.
I think Singapore become more global.
You done a YouTuber?
Yeah. Do you guys live in Singapore or visiting?
I live in Singapore, man.
Yeah. Cool.
What about you? Where are you from?
Originally from Russia.
Russia. Nice.
Yeah. You?
Enjoying Singapore.
You?
Are you? Scotland.
Scotland.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
I used to live in Ireland, in Dublin,
No way.
for 3 years. Yeah.
Amazing.
I love the place.
You having a good time here?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Brilliant.
I love Singapore.
Take it easy.
Yeah,
bro. See
take
you
it easy.
later.
Bye. If you like this video, check out the next one. But you have only 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.